Hey guys, welcome back to another video and happy 1st of December! So it is the 1st of December, very excited for Christmas, a lot more than I thought I might be. As you can see, I've got my lovely Cookie Monster t-shirt on. And yes, so in today's video we're going to be doing my little November book haul and the books I read in the month of November. So in total I read 8 books in the month of November. Most were physical copies, 2 of which were library books which I've since returned, and those 2 were Desperate Measures and Scythe. I'm not going to go into too much detail about my thoughts on these books. I'm just going to give you guys a quick overview of what I read, what I rated them, and then we're going to get into my November book haul. So let's get started. Okay, so one of the first books I finished in the month of November was The Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm again not going to go into too much detail about this, but this was the first prequel in the Blood and Ash series. Loved it, gave it 4 stars, highly recommend. Do I love it more than from Blood and Ash? Yes, I do. So really enjoyed this. 4 stars, loved it, absolutely loved it. Top tier. So the next one I finished in the month of November was a buddy read and a reread for me, and that was Crescent City House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. So this is Sarah's newest, well not newest, it's the second newest adult novel she's written. Of course, Silver Flames came out back at the beginning of the year. I didn't love that as much as I loved this. However, that being said, my first read through of this, I didn't quite enjoy it. Second time around, I enjoyed it quite a lot more. I don't know whether that's because I was in a reading slump, but this is another one I gave 4 stars, absolutely loved it. Again, if you want to hear my thoughts a bit more in detail on this, I will leave a link to my November reading blog up the top and down in the description box, so you guys can have a little bit more of my formulated thoughts on this bad boy. Okay, so the next one was a buddy read as well, and that was A Lawyer of Bones by Helen Shearer. So Helen is a New Zealand based author, and she has written the Overmere Chronicles, I think that's the name of it. I do own that series. It's a series I've been meaning to get to, and this apparently is set in the same world as well. I only found out recently. So in this one we follow a young siren who essentially is the daughter of a infamous criminal, and she is one day given the chance to participate in these games, essentially to earn her place in society. So this was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I gave this about 3.5 out of 5 stars. Some of the world building needed a bit more detail. Again, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. If you want more formulated thoughts, my thoughts are down below in my November reading blog. But it was a solid start to a series. I do recommend reading the prequels first before diving into this, just because the prequels gave me so much more of an overview of the outside world, because this is set more in a condensed space, so you don't really get to see a lot of the world. I hopefully in book 2 that is going to expand, but yes, didn't quite love this as much as the first 2 reads. Still gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is a great rating for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, so that was a lot of bones. The next one was another buddy read. It was the month of buddy reads this month. So the next one I finished, it was These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. So this was the book club pick for the Fantasy Friends book club over on Instagram. This was their November pick. So basically every month what they'll do is they'll put a vote out on Instagram, and we essentially get to choose what book we read for the month. So this was the winner for November. I really enjoyed this. It was a 4 star, not quite 5. Reason being was that it was a little bit predictable in places. Not that dampened my enjoyment of it. Still gave it 4 stars. Really looking forward to the sequel, which I think comes out in May next year. Don't quote me on that, but yes, I'm very looking forward to reading the sequel to this. But yes, absolutely adore this book. Highly recommend if you're especially fans of ACOTAR. It's not as similar to ACOTAR as I thought it was. Again, if you want a bit more formulated thoughts, I will of course link my November reading blog down below on this one. One of the last 2 books I finished in the month of November was 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. So this is set in China, and we follow a young princess and her brothers who are one day cursed by their stepmother in order for her to take their father's throne. So essentially this young girl is cursed. She is cursed in a way that if she speaks of it to anyone, one of her brothers will essentially die. So she is basically rendered mute throughout most of the book. Not that that dampened my experience of it, even though a lot of the story is told through internal dialogue. It didn't feel forced upon you in a way. You felt the emotions of it. Absolutely loved this. Gave it 4 stars. Not quite 5-star material again, like These Hollow Vows was. Only reason being because, again, some little plot points I did predict. Not that that overall dampened my experience, but it's not quite 5-star material. Like, oh my god, I recommend this. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yes, highly recommend you guys pick this one up. The atmosphere in this book, just top tier atmosphere. You felt like you were immersed in the story. You felt like you were there. So, and you felt the characters' emotional journey that she goes on. So this is another great YA read I would highly recommend and for you to pick up. Okay, and one of the last 3 books I read, actually, sorry I messed that up, but one of the ones I finished towards the end of November was Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Manasalko. So this is a young adult fantasy, and we follow a young girl who is essentially goes to extreme lengths to try and avenge her sister's death, and one day calls upon this demon known as the Wraith, and she essentially has to make a deal with him in order to help find her sister's killer. So this was a really great read for me. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Not quite 5-star material. A lot of books aren't quite 5-star material this month, but that being said, didn't hamper my enjoyment of it. I basically started this at about 1 o'clock on the Friday afternoon and finished it at midnight. So that is an indication of how much I enjoyed this. Like I said, not quite 5-star material, but again, another great young adult read if you want to pick up one of those. Okay, and the final 2 I will mention here that I unfortunately don't have on me, as they were both library books, was Scythe and Desperate Measures. So Scythe was by Neil Shusterman and Desperate Measures was by Katie Robert. These were 4-star reads again. So Desperate Measures is more a... it's not really a plot-driven book, it's more of a smutty Disney characters book. That's the best way I could describe that. So, and Scythe was our book club pick of the month for the Last to Read book club, and I will be reading the sequel to that in December again. That was a mixed bag for me as well. It was a 4-star read, but not quite 5 stars. My biggest issue with Scythe was the first 150 pages. I felt kind of could have been trimmed down just a little bit more in terms of world building. Like, you don't need... some things kind of felt like they could have been explained a bit less. But in the end, I did overall enjoy that and gave it 4 stars. Okay, so now that we've got what I read in November out of the way, let's get into the book haul. So in total, how many did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I hauled 7 books in the month of November. One of the first ones I was quite keen to pick up and was a bargain, about $13, was Naked in Death by J.D. Robb. So these guys, I've been slowly collecting them. This about 56, is it 53 or 56? Oh, I don't know, I can't remember. That's a lot. Let's just go with that. So this follows a New York cop called Eve Dallas, and I'm pretty sure in this first book she meets a potential love interest / future husband. I don't know too much about these books. I really am a big fan of crime and crime authors, so I thought, why not? And this is, if you don't know, is Nora Roberts, who writes a lot of... I've only known Nora Roberts for more romance books, which I don't particularly like. I'm not really big into this whole romance as a whole. I like a bit of plot, I like a bit of action in between. So quite excited to start this. This is book number 1. So like I said, it was a bargain at $13. And come on, am I going to say no to a paperback like this for $13? No, I'm not. So that was the first one I bought. The next one I bought is a sequel, and